You're listening to the Back Home Network, presented by Homefield Apparel.
And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another tough, disappointing episode of the Assembly Call. As today, your Indiana Hoosiers fell in overtime, 80-69 on the road at Ohio State. The loss brings Indiana's record to 16-10 and 7-9 in the conference. I'm your host, Brian Tonsoni. I'm here with Ryan Phillips. The other guys may join us later on the show, but we're going to break it down for you tonight on this edition of the Assembly Call IU Postgame Show. So let's start this show the way we start every show, and that is with our banner moment. And for me, the banner moment has to be the second half comeback to get a lead to 4. That showed a lot of toughness after coming out of the half in a real tight battle in the first half and down 5, and coming out in the second half when second halves haven't been Indiana's strength, and you get down 11 to crank up the defense and play outstanding defense and hold Ohio State to 2 droughts, one over 6 minutes and one over 4 minutes, in order to get yourself in position to win a Big Ten basketball game. And there were some good things offensively as well during that stretch. A little more movement tonight, a little more cuts off the post feeds that we'll talk about, but it just wasn't enough tonight. But the banner moment was the fight in the young guys on the Indiana basketball team. To get into a position to win a game. Winning the games in the Big Ten has been tough, as unfortunately we know all too well. So, as always, our banner moment today is brought to you by our friends at Homefield Apparel, now in their 5th season of sponsoring the Assembly Call and their first as the presenting sponsor for the Back Home Network. As you surely know by now, Homefield has the largest collection of vintage IU apparel that you'll find anywhere, with beloved logos like 2 different versions of the Bison. And if you support other college teams or have people in your life who do, Homefield probably has something for them too. Their product line now extends to more than 120 different schools with unique vintage logos for all of them. And no matter what you buy, you know it'll be comfortable and the colors will last through many washings. Plus, you're supporting an Indiana-based company that came up through Kelly. What could be better than that? Go to homefieldapparel.com and use our promo code HOME for 15% off your entire first order. That's promo code HOME for 15% off. Once again, the website is homefieldapparel.com. Wear one for the team. Okay, now it's time to move the ball, find the open man, and get some opening thoughts from the rest of our team. Ryan, it's your time to rant. Another tough game for our Indiana Hoosiers.
Well, check in. That's 5 in a row for this team. Not great for postseason positioning. We've been talking about it for a while, what making the tournament means to this program. Look, late in the game, you're up 4 with 2:47 left after Tamar Bates hits a jumper. You have 2 breakaway opportunities and miss them both. And then you wind up playing pretty good defense, getting the ball back. Race Thompson tries to force feed it to Trace Jackson Davis. Obviously, the coaching told him, you got to go in there because everyone was trying to feed it to Trace. I get it. Best player. Got to give him the ball late. Trace threw a pass in there, got stolen by E.J. Liddell. And then what happens over the next couple minutes is, to me, inexcusable. Parker Stewart, God love him, he's a terrible on-ball defender. He's the worst on-ball defender Indiana has. And for some reason, Mike Woodson had him paired up with Malachi Branham, the best player on Ohio State, and a guy who all he does is drive right. Every time he drives right, either pulls up, goes to the rim, or when everybody helps, he finds somebody. The next 2 possessions, first of all, the first one, Parker Stewart just mugs him, fouls him. He makes 2 free throws, cuts it to 2. The next possession, Indiana comes down, had no idea what it was doing offensively. Tamar Bates fires up a bad 3 at the end because the offense had no idea what it was doing. It was a freedom possession, not a run a set possession, and they wound up with a terrible shot.
When you see this,
yeah,
it's run the post,
exactly.
ISO stuff.
And then they come down again, and after he got abused by Branham repeatedly throughout that last stretch of the game, it's again Branham being guarded by Parker Stewart, and everybody helps off of him, including Trace Jackson Davis, who leaves E.J. Liddell. I think Davis and Race kind of had rotated there. I'm not sure who exactly had him at the time, but Trace stepped up, and it left E.J. Liddell wide open for a layup. and Branham hits him, dunk, tie game, we're going to overtime. Then in overtime, after watching Stewart just get abused by Branham through no fault of his own. I mean, it's not Parker's fault. He's just not.
He was trying.
He's trying. He's
giving everything he got.
He's not good enough to guard that guy. He's not good enough to guard any, like Johnny Davis, Jaden Ivey, guys he's guarded this year have just abused him because he doesn't have the foot speed to stay with them, okay? Not his fault. It's the fault of the guy who puts him in that position. And in overtime, did Woodson change up the matchup? Did they maybe bring Miller Kopp back in, give him another shot at him? Kopp, who had played very well through the second half and really sparked their comeback. No, Kopp's buried on the bench. Anthony Leo played his tail off tonight when he was in there. Maybe not the best defender in the world, but maybe you give him a different look. Maybe you switch and put Race Thompson on him. Give him some length to look to try and shoot over, whatever. No. The rest of overtime, Branham was given the ball at the top of the key by Ohio State and told just go to work on Parker Stewart. And he did repeatedly. I'm sorry, but as a coach, you have to recognize when you're putting your player in a bad situation. That lost the game for Indiana. There's plenty of other things that lost the game. They didn't hit their free throws. The offense was terrible in overtime. Like, whatever you want. But on the basic 2 possessions where you needed to win the game and you have watched a guy abuse your player repeatedly on the night, you do not change anything up and you leave the matchups the same. Parker Stewart, God love the kid. I do not blame him. He actually played pretty well offensively, especially in the first half, helped keep Indiana in the game, scored 11 points. But defensively, he cannot guard guys like that. And this season, repeatedly, Mike Woodson has put him on guys like that. Put him there. Put him in those bad positions. You know what Branham did to Stewart the first time you played. He abused him. You had to switch to Rob Finney guarding him late. Tonight, you had other options, and you did not go to them. You watched repeatedly as Branham beat Stewart repeatedly. I'm sorry. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
We talked before the show. Missing Trey and Rob there as a defensive changeup also took away some options.
Certainly.
But at some point
there are other options.
You gotta maybe do something there. But the defense played so well tonight in that stretch of 12 minutes to get Indiana the lead. It was sad to see that effort go for naught with a couple bad possessions there at the end of regulation in the last 1:15, and then in overtime just could not stop Ohio State. But that's what happens when you give good teams opportunities to stay alive. You've got to throw that knockout punch, and Indiana didn't throw that knockout punch. So again, Indiana loses to Ohio State 80-69 in double overtime. Really puts Indiana's postseason hopes in jeopardy. There's still time with the Big Ten tournament and other things to make a run, and a quad 1 game at Purdue. Indiana's already beaten Purdue. There were some good things tonight. I thought the movement on offense was a lot better. I still think it can be more purposeful, but there was a lot of movement on post ISOs. They were doing what we call in our program Laker cuts. They were cutting off the strong side. They even pin screened and exchanged on the weak side, which gave Ohio State some problems because Ohio State was going to double post to post, and then they were going to tag from the backside. And when you move the perimeters, that's when Bates got a 3. I think Stewart got a 3 on a kick out from Trace Jackson Davis. I thought they ran more action tonight. To be totally honest with you, in the first half, they were running some pin screens to get some catches. It ended up a lot in the post feed, and it ended up in a lot of middle ball screens. But that's what college teams do. They run some sets early, some action early, and then they get to their go-to plays. But you've moved the defense, and you have a chance to break down the defense. They ran some what we call Iverson cuts, guards over the top. They even had a nice little handoff for a guard, Parker Stewart. He just missed. I'd rather him take a 3 off that action where he came off a pin screen and then a handoff, which is reminiscent of what other schools in this state run. So I really was pleased that they were running more stuff, and then all of a sudden they got the lead, running more stuff. I thought, okay, this is going to be the night. But
and they made a
Ryan, what do you think about? Yeah, and they made a comeback without Trace, and other guys got shots tonight, which I know they didn't hit them. But Kopp took 8. Bates got going and hit some big shots. And Parker Stewart was 3 of 3 from 3. I believe this game, Ryan, is a guards game, and you have to run stuff for your guards as well as for your post players. And I really thought Coach Woodson made those adjustments in the 5 or 6 days he had preparing for the game. Unfortunately, ran out at the 2-minute mark.
Yeah, and what's crazy about this, Coach, is Trace Jackson-Davis played 39 minutes. He was minus 18. They were not as good with him on the floor tonight in general. I mean, he was 3 of 6.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it
doesn't make
sense. Dominated Ohio State the first time they played. Absolutely dominated. And it just looked like, and I don't know if he's banged up or if he's played too many minutes. I don't know what the thing is, but there are times Trace just doesn't look as locked in as he did earlier in the year. And maybe it's just losing 4 in a row and you're bummed out and you're thinking you're going to miss the tournament, which is starting to look more and more likely. Maybe he's checking out mentally a little. I'm not accusing him that. I'm just giving examples. I mean, some guys might be checking out mentally, but it's insane to me that, he came back in the game and what they were doing was moving a lot off the ball. He came back in the game and immediately was back to force feed the post. It was not, let's try and do what we're doing, but with Trace in there as an extra option. It was everything stopped and let's try and force feed the post again. And, I don't know. I mean, I think Race Thompson once again, I think was our best player. And when you've got a guy who's supposed to be an All-American, he's supposed to be your best player every night out. And I thought Race Thompson was much better than Trace Jackson-Davis tonight, particularly defensively. As you've talked about before, Trace Jackson-Davis often hunts the block when he shouldn't, when he should just stay home. And he was doing that all night. And yeah, I don't, aside from that one, turnover Thompson had, at the end of regulation, which was unforgivable, but he clearly been told just keep forcing it in there. I thought he played a really good game, and it's just the kind of thing where Trey said, 13-9 offensively, he's got to do more against those guys. He just does. I mean, he proved he could do it the first time they played. I think he had 27 the first time they played Ohio State and led him to an upset. And tonight he was just 7 of 13 from the line, only scored 6 points from the field. I mean, you got to be better than that, man. Like, you just have to if the offense is gonna revolve around you. And but yeah, look, you're right. It's guard centric. Kopp took 8 shots, but I thought that some of those were early, and then I felt he got into a rhythm and played pretty darn well. Got to the free throw line, hit a 3.
He had 7 points in a row for Indiana. That stretch is what we thought Kopp was going to do when he got here, and I thought that was really
Coach,
good to see. Right.
You know what it looked like? It looked like he was just fed up with the offense having no movement and just said, screw it, I'm going to go find offense. And he just did. And he just forced it. And you know what? Miller Kopp, if this offense is stagnant, go find it, man. I don't mind you shooting the ball. If the guy's all over you, I mind you shooting the ball. But I don't mind you dribbling into an open spot and pulling up. I don't. He's a good shooter. And I know he was 1 of 5, and they missed some early, and then he forced one late. But, Kopp stepping into a 3, I don't mind. Kopp dribbling and pulling up, short range, I don't mind. He has a better chance of making those shots than a lot of the guys who play more than him, and so I'd rather see that. I thought Tamar Bates, he wound up taking 11 shots, which is shocking to me. But, I thought he played better. And you know what? When Tamar Bates drove in and it was his first basket, he drove in and kind of off balance, kind of shot one that rolled in. I'll take that every time from him. I'll take aggressiveness every time from him.
That's north-south.
Yeah,
we need more players that are north-south that can finish.
Yeah, he's hit some threes lately, but I'd rather have him driving the ball. I mean, if he's got an open 3, he should take it. He's proven he can.
I did not have any problem with shot selection tonight from the perimeters.
No,
I know maybe some of them came early in the shot clock, but we so badly need shooting and rhythm shots that I think Indiana got some open looks, and when you got to take them, regardless of when the shot clock is. But I know Kopp was 2 for 8, the percentages, he only shoot 34% from the field, but I thought Stewart was 4 from 9, 3 or 4 from 3. Kopp was only 1 for 5. It had to force some stuff, but I thought they were good shots, and I thought that it was in movement, and so I guess what I'm going to say is, that's the positive of tonight, is that this looked a little more collegiate offense. The ball didn't go in, and maybe there's some things with the play calls late or whatever, but the ball didn't go in tonight. And I hope that that's not a sign of reverting back to not getting those guys shots, because I do think we made the comeback when the perimeter started shooting the basketball a little more than the post and the point guard stuff.
When things spread out and there was more movement, you just see that the offense is better that way. And and somebody in the chat said like, oh, Trace Jackson-Davis is the problem now. No, he's not the problem. I'm saying the offense is different when he's in there, whether that's by design or whether that's default that like you have this guy in there, you have to get him the ball, or whether it's by design. The offense kind of slows down when he's in there. And look, over the last couple weeks, you've seen Trace slow down a little. He's had some good games, but a lot of the times he's going east and west with the ball instead of going right at and attacking people as he has earlier in the year.
He had a couple nice assists out of the double team, and he had a nice back dribble and a drive where I think he got fouled. But when you're minus 19, 18, that's not being harsh on anyone. That's just for some reason when he was on the court, Indiana did not perform in a game that was
and
tight.
Here's the thing, he does this sometimes when he faces good big men, defensive big men, or guys who are bigger than him, is instead of going north and south, as you said, Coach, he kind of fades across the lane and tries to shoot it around people. And he's done that for 3 years. We've known that was an issue. It's why Kofi Coburn is his kryptonite, because he can't go over top of him. But when he's aggressive and goes right at guys, you can't stop him. But when he tries to go around people and be, finesse with the ball instead of going, he's not a finesse player. He's just not. And I think that Trace needs to find his, anger again and go straight at people, because when he goes around him, he's just not that good at it. And
it's right now the players are missing shots, and the coach are struggling to put people in the right position to make shots. So to me, it's blame goes everywhere right now when you lose basketball games and shoot 34% tonight. I thought they were good shots. I did, short of the lack of defense in the last 2 minutes and the overtime. I thought Indiana did enough to win a game. And here's the problem, Ryan. When you have to play so hard defensively to overcome 34.4% shooting, man, that the defense is going to give at some point, because that's so hard to keep that level of defense up for that long a time when the ball's not going in. And I think that's the main storyline tonight. Again, it's just offensive inefficiency wherever people want to point the finger. But
look, let me just say this too. I thought the players played really hard tonight. I thought they fought hard. I thought
they have in this 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, and I even thought they played harder tonight than they've played in this losing streak. I think the Northwestern game, it's hard to judge because they're all just exhausted. But I thought that it felt like there was some air out of the balloon in that game the whole way, and that may have just been everything going on behind the scenes. I thought that they were obviously. I thought Trey Galloway played his tail off, but I thought some of the guys. It felt like in that game we're going through the motions at times. That might have been pure exhaustion, to be clear. But I thought, Michigan State, they kind of sleptwalked through parts of that game. I did not feel that tonight. I thought they played hard. I thought they played misguided at times in the first half and certainly early in the second half. Early in the second half, it looked like they were going to get walked out of the gym. And then, Kopp and some other guys really stepped up and started getting the offense going. And you felt like, oh, wait a minute, they're here to win this game. They're not just here to show up. And I tweeted that out. I said, hey, this team is battling on the road. They're missing some guys. They're battling hard. That's all you can ask for. But, you need to help them out, too, a little bit. And you need to make adjustments that help them win the game. And again, I know some people think I'm too harsh on Mike Woodson. I'm evaluating this game. And some of the other points of the season. None of that says that Mike Woodson can't be a great coach at Indiana, can't be the guy that brings Indiana back. Right now, he needs to get better. And that's just a fact that he needs to get better. And he needs to get better at the way he deploys his players. And he needs to get better at making adjustments in games. And he needs to get better at realizing when to call a timeout and run a set versus just, hey, find a shot. Again, just get it in the post, or when to run a set. There are just certain things about and again, he's coming from the NBA to college. Understandable, there's going to be an adjustment period. So, but what I want to say is, these guys played very hard tonight, and I think deserved better. And I don't think they got better.
I agree, and this is a tough league to cut your teeth on, when you're coming into college,
especially when you're a guy who's never coached. In college
there's a lot of good coaches. All right, that's not the right thing. This is coming up. We'll continue our breakdown of Indiana's loss in overtime at Ohio State. We'll point out some meaningful moments you might have missed, and then we'll go inside the numbers to highlight the most important stats from the game. You're listening to the Assembly Call. Stick with us.
Hi, this is AJ Moye. What's the only thing better than upsetting Duke in the Sweet 16? Celebrating it with friends afterwards. Join Jared, Andy, Ryan, and Coach for the assembly call after every IU basketball game. Go Hoosiers.
You're listening to the Assembly Call IU postgame show. I'm Brian Tonsone. I'm here with Ryan Phillips. We're breaking down Indiana's loss tonight to Ohio State. It's time for some meaningful moments that might have missed, and I don't feel like playing that little upbeat jingo to get in here on a game that lost to drop us to 16-10. But I had a couple, and I'm not sure anyone missed this because our fans are really solid fans. But I'd like to talk to you about Anthony Leal. Anthony Leal, to me, is just a classic Indiana player. He's waiting his time. He's winning the weight. He understands his role. And when his number's called, he goes in there and fights like heck. He had several things. He had a couple tip ball deflections. He had a heck of a pass down across the court. I didn't think it was going to get through there, and got through for hopefully assist. I don't see if he got it mentioned there. I know he missed 2 free throws and a shot, and he struggled on Branham like a lot of players struggled on Branham. But the young man is ready when his number is called. And some of those things, I wrote down that Leo was doing some things that don't show up in the stat box, whether it's cutting hard, setting the screen, making a pass that leads to the next pass that leads to a basket. I think that's something that he'll build on throughout his time at Indiana. And if, that COVID year was last year and this was his freshman year, he's going to be a big part of Indiana getting this thing turned around. But I thought there were a lot of moments in there that are subtle moments in his minutes of play. Your thoughts on Anthony Leal?
Yeah, this is another one of those things I don't get. He played 10 minutes in the first half. He was the only Indiana player to finish the game other than Michael Durr. You got to give Durr credit for this, who didn't score and had 2 fouls and nothing else, but he was +7. Is the only guy other than that wasn't in the minus tonight was Anthony Leal. He played 10 minutes in the first half because Parker Stewart got in foul trouble, probably was the reason. Played 10 minutes, and Indiana was even with Ohio State in that stretch. He didn't play a minute in the second half. I don't get it. I do not get it.
I don't have the answers for you, right?
He provides
I wish I did.
He has a lot of energy. Look, it's clear. I mean, you look at the minutes distribution this year. It's clear Mike Woodson leans on older players, which is a very old school college basketball thing. He leans on the older players in general.
And Bates his philosophy. That's okay. But tonight you were down some players.
That's what I was going to get at, Coach, is that you're playing those guys a lot. Leo came in and gave you a spark. Miller Kopp came in and gave you a bit of a spark. They get buried at the end. I don't get it. I'm not saying Woody doesn't have a reason. I just don't. I can't tell you what that reason is.
Yeah, here's what I think. I think he goes by feel.
Yeah.
And once Tamar Bates hit a couple shots and got moving and had a little mojo, and Tamar Bates, one of the things I was going to point out, missed too, had a heck of a block out in the first half, and that seemed to get him going. Sometimes. Yeah. I'll share with the listeners the little things: a dive on the floor, a hustle rebound, a great physical block out can get someone going. And I thought that block out by Tamar, but I think what happened late was Tamar made some plays, and so he decided to stick with them. I thought maybe he went a little too long with Tamar there because he had Miller Kopp, a veteran who could come in. And that's the only reason that I think some of those things happened. But I thought Leo came in and did a good job. I thought Geronimo came in and did some nice things. He had a block. He had a nice little turnaround 15-footer, which is something that we don't have from the post.
Played Liddell really well. Gave those guys a break.
I thought
just like he did in the first game.
And he didn't see any minutes, I believe, in the second half, or very few, right?
Again, he didn't play at all in the second half. Again, I don't get it. And again, I'm not saying Woody doesn't have a philosophy or a reason. I just can't articulate what I think is a smart reason for doing that. I really can't.
And you got a question.
I'm also not paid to be the head coach at Indiana, right. So that's fair.
And we're not in there. We say that, and we're more than fair with that. And then you wonder with these late game fades if you don't get Geronimo at the 16-minute mark for race from 16 to 13 or something. Yes, you want your better players in at crunch time, but you also want them with some legs. When do you steal those minutes? And I think you have to steal some minutes in the second half. That would be something I would be willing to ask is, you steal the minutes in the first half, but you don't steal some minutes in the second half. And I don't think those guys did anything, to show that they weren't ready to play. I thought I wrote down in the first half, Leo, Geronimo, Bates really sparked Indiana after a tough start where we had 5 turnovers in the first 5 minutes from our starters. And so if you're going to play that hot hand, I didn't think they were not hot. I didn't think they were necessarily great. But again, that, if you're down 2 players out of your rotation and Durr's only going to play 3 or 4 minutes, that I would have liked to seen those guys. I thought those guys did some good things. I'm just going to try to stay positive. Geronimo played well in the first half. Leo played well in the first half. Bates got going in the second half.
And
that only means good stuff for Indiana.
Copp played well in the second half. Copp, 2 of 6 from the field, 7 points, 1 of 3 field goals, 2 of 2 free throws, 3 rebounds, 2 offensive, an assist, 1 turnover, and in 13 minutes in the second half. That's a positive. He played well in the second half. He didn't have a great first half, did not have a great first half. Played well, helped spark them in the second half. Then those younger guys in the first half really settled Indiana down. I mean, it's the thing. You think the veterans are the ones settling them down, but the young guys settled them down, got them into it, got them back in the game. And then they brought the starters back towards the end of the first half, and they kind of lost touch a little bit. I mean, you got to read trends in the game. I realize you're going to trust your starters more. You're going to give them more rope than your bench, but your bench served you well tonight. They didn't score a ton. The bench only had 9 points, but the offense ran better with them. The defense was more aggressive with them. They sparked them. Reward those guys. Reward those guys. And here's the thing about Leo. Somebody said in the chat, Leo doesn't do anything on offense. Let him play more. He'll get better. And here's the thing with Leo.
He made a couple great passes on offense, and he runs stuff really, really well.
His shot form looks great. He rushes when he's in there. And it happened a couple games ago. I think it was Northwestern. His first 2 threes, his feet weren't set because he rushed it because the guy's closing out on him. And then a third one, I remember I tweeted this out. I said in the second half, just what? Leo needs to step into his threes instead of rushing. Caught a 3, stepped into it, boom, nailed it. That would have happened tonight too. And I think you just need to give the guy more chances. That's it.
9-10, Leo with the steal. Good block out Tamar, 7:15. Geronimo block at 5:20. And I didn't even write down, I didn't even write down Geronimo's jumper, which I think it might have come from Leo. I don't know. But those were positive contributions. And here's the thing, it's a loss tonight. There is no moral victories, but building that depth is always going to be good. If it doesn't pan out this year for success for Indiana, then that gives those guys something in the summer to work on and thrive. And those guys are going to be there, I think, as long as they wear the Indiana uniform, because I just like the way our bench guys approached tonight's game. I thought Tamar was vocal. I saw him in the huddles. He was hitting people on the chest, trying to keep them positive when things got tough. That's a positive sign for Tamar. His shots, and I don't blame him. That one shot was late, Ryan, in the shot clock. He had to take that 1-3 late. I know he had a high volume tonight, but I just think athletes, we're missing Rob, we're missing Trey. Tamar's one of those athletes. I think Geronimo's one of those athletes that help Indiana play more athletically. Would maybe help Indiana pull out some of these games.
Yeah, I don't mind him taking, to clarify, I don't mind him taking that 3. I don't think it should have ever gotten to that point where he had to rush that 3.
Also agree.
But I don't have any problem with him taking the shot. I didn't have a problem with really any shot he took tonight. I thought he rushed one where he went into the lane and was kind of 2 guys around him and he kind of just threw it up. I mean, but again, nobody else was doing anything at that point in the game.
Don't you think, you're the shot doctor, but don't you think sometimes I want guys to take a couple bad shots because if they're afraid to take bad shots, they're passing up good shots.
I would agree with you on that as well.
And Ryan,
I don't mind. Look, if you have a 3 with a guy closing out on you and there's 15 seconds or less left on the shot clock, take it. Yeah. Take it. They were 6 of 19 from 3 tonight. I didn't have a problem with a whole lot of those threes.
I didn't think shot selection was bad today. I thought shot execution was bad, and I thought sometimes the players didn't. Some of those misses and some of the percentages, because when you got a jack late shot clock because of offense not working, that goes on the shooting percentage. It goes on the young man's shooting percentage. But it's really if you're got the ball,
that's a team shot, not an individual
there's some
shot.
Team shots in there late in the shot clock.
No, and I'll say this too, Coach. Coach, you're talking about shot execution. 4 of 15 on layups, and a lot of that is the interior guys. And Xavier Johnson early was throwing some stuff up there. I will say this: Xavier Johnson started this game horribly, and
he bounced back.
He did struggle finishing, but he bounced back, and he was 10 of 10 from the free throw line, and was incredibly reliable there. And he kept the Indiana in the game at points with his free throw shooting. He made 4 of 4 in the second half, much better in the second half. Didn't have a turnover after halftime, after having 5 in like the first 11 minutes of the game. He didn't have a turnover after that. I thought he played very well defensively. I thought he gave his energy, and I thought that after a really, really tough opening to the game, he stuck with it, and I thought he played pretty well.
His shots were limited, and Indiana comes back. I mean, if I go back to the play-by-play, I don't have time to do that right now, but I have nothing against the young man. I like him. I think we need him. But when he takes high-volume shots, high-volume turnovers, we struggle. When Indiana made that run to get that lead, he was more of a facilitator, which he is really good and hard to guard when he is being a facilitator, which is get us into offense and be a threat to get other people open. And then he got back into late shot clock, probably by design. He had to take some shots running and late. That didn't work out. But it's time now to go inside the numbers. This segment is sponsored by the Power Rank, where our friend Ed uses data and analytics to make accurate football and college basketball predictions. He also writes an incredible March Madness guide every year, which will have a special offer for you once March rolls around. For now, if you want sports betting advice with a PhD edge, or if you just like understanding sports at a more analytical level, you should subscribe to Ed's free newsletter. Go to thepowerrank.com/AC to subscribe. That's thepowerrank.com/AC. Okay, let's dissect the numbers that tell the story of this game. We've already talked about 34.4%. You talked about the layups, shooting only 4 of 15 from around. And the bugaboo, again, is free throw shooting at key moments. Shot 70.4%, Ryan, from the free throw line, but I thought there were some key misses on the free throw line tonight that might have made the difference in going to overtime. Any numbers stand out for you that you want to talk about?
The 9 bench points, I think that it's worth bringing that up because I thought the bench actually played pretty well when it was in there. They just didn't have many opportunities. And to get 9 points, and what did Bates have? 7 of those, I think, and he was playing basically like a starter. They trailed for 30.37 minutes, 30 minutes and 37 seconds. But to be able to come back and take the lead late, but points per possession, 0.972. I mean, the offense is still not getting it done. It just isn't. And you can talk about missed shots. You can talk about he doesn't have the players he wants. You can talk about all of that. But, at some point, it's got to improve. You've had the same guys for the entire season. It's got to improve. And that goes for the players too. I mean, you've got to finish when you have opportunities to finish. Trace Jackson-Davis has to finish around the rim. Like, I'm sorry. He took 9 shots and made 3. He only had 6 points from the field. You can't miss 6, back to the basket opportunities when that's your go-to. So yeah, I'll say Race, something that jumped out to me, Race Thompson, 3 blocks, 2 steals. He just turned in the kind of game he always does, and maybe didn't have as much success from the field. He was 6 of 12. But I just feel like that guy is just always doing work. And I think we need to appreciate it in case this is his last stretch of games at Indiana. Need to appreciate what he's done and what he continues to do. Every game that guy shows up.
I tell you what, I always mess with you about your love affair for Race Thompson, but he's our best player.
Yeah.
Consistently with what he produces. Double-digit points, a lot of rebounds, blocks, steals, hustle. Yeah, tough turnover for the young man tonight. You feel for a guy who gives everything to Indiana to have that be a key thing late, and I know that's killing him as well because I know it means something to play well. But he's the type of guy that you just want to have a lot of success. Starting to hit threes, Ryan. Your remote shot doctoring with Race this year has really been working well. And
it's a Zoom thing.
Zoom things are working. That's great. Race has just really been fantastic. And tonight was another effort. 13 points. 9 rebounds, almost a double-double. But you brought up some key things: 3 blocks, 2 steals, 40 minutes. I do think that's important. The tough thing number-wise is overtime shooting, 1 of 8, 0 for 3
the
from
offense
3.
in overtime just was absent.
The overtime in the last 2 minutes got stagnant again, and we've just seen we've just seen that that happened late. A lead against Wisconsin, a lead against there. So there's a lot of things that Indiana is doing well, specifically on the defensive end. Those two droughts, I'll bring that up again to just try to show that there was some things. It wasn't an 11-point blowout like the score says. Indiana held Ohio State to 2 points over 10 minutes, and Ohio State is one of the best efficient offenses in the country, and they've done that now twice. The shame is when you put a lot of heart and effort into defense. They're 9 in KenPom overall offensively. I think that was going into the game. You want to see that get paid, and you need to get that paid with wins, because the stat right now, the stat that shows is 16-10 and 7-9 in the Big Ten, regardless of offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, or whatever. This team is playing with a lot of heart on the defensive end, and I will give credit to that team for doing that. But you got to also put the ball in the basket.
Got to score points to win a game. At some point,
you got to score. You got to score some points to win a game. So coming up here on the assembly call, we're going to hand out our game balls and our Hoosier Hustle Award, and then we'll introduce. I don't think it's a new segment, but we'll be back with that segment nonetheless. That's all we have here on the assembly call. Stick with us.
This is Tim Priller, and I never miss an episode of the Assembly Call.
You're listening to the Assembly Call IU postgame show. Catch us live immediately following every IU basketball game, plus every Thursday night at our website, assemblycall.com. Also, make sure you sign up for our free IU Hoops email newsletter. Over 9,000 of your fellow IU fans have subscribed. Join for free today at join.assemblycall.com. That's join.assemblycall.com. I'm Brian Tonsoni. I'm here with Ryan Phillips. We're breaking down Indiana's loss in overtime to the Ohio State Buckeyes in Columbus, 80-69. It's now time for our game balls. Ryan, who do you think is deserving tonight?
This was tough. The one player's run basically sparked Indiana's comeback and put him in the lead. His numbers don't look great overall, and that's Miller Kopp. I thought that he individually really turned that game around. I thought Tamar Bates played really well, enough to, sort of warrant consideration. But I'm just going to go with Race Thompson. I think 13 points, 9 rebounds. I thought he did a great job on Liddell for the most part. And by doing that, protected Trace Jackson-Davis, who didn't have to guard him. Only 2 fouls, considering he's guarding one of the best players in the Big Ten. 13 points, hit a 3, 9 rebounds, and assist. He did have 2 turnovers in that big one late, but I forgive him for that. 3 blocks, 2 steals, played 40 minutes. And then you look on the other end, Liddell wound up with 16. And for him, that's a down game, especially because he took 15 shots to get to 16 points. No offensive rebounds for Liddell either. And that's, again, Race Thompson. Held him to 1 of 5 from 3, and Liddell's a guy who hits, I think, 40% from 3. Race Thompson gets my game ball. I think on both ends of the floor, he was Indiana's best player. And quietly, too. You look at it, I thought it was a quiet performance from Race. But you look at the box score, it's undeniable. Played more minutes than anybody, too.
I just totally agree. I really appreciate Race Thompson tremendously for what he's done, what he gives every night. We just got done in the last segment talking about him with his numbers, because his numbers speak volumes for what we're getting out of him. Ideally, you want a stretch 4 to be able to shoot maybe a little more from 3, but Race is starting to do that. I would love to see, Ryan, some situations where he's playing the 5. I know he's a little undersized for that, but I know he can guard the 5. And it
comes back next year. You're going to see a lot of that, Coach.
It spreads the floor a little bit, because now a big has to guard him, and he can pick and pop and put that into his games. So yeah, I have no issues with that whatsoever. I understand the others too. I thought Bates played one of his better games despite his numbers. I thought Miller Kopp had that really good stretch. I know Stewart struggled defensively, but he made some tough shot, and that's something we lack too. Bates made a tough shot, a three and a pull-up too. And Parker Stewart just hit 2 threes right in the face of someone. We need to be able to hit that. College, you don't get wide open shots every possession. Sometimes you just got to have guys rise up and stick it in someone's face. And I thought we saw some of that tonight. And again, I don't want to be overly happy tonight because it is a loss. But I do think that there were some moments there that just have to be more consistent in order for Indiana to be a winner on a regular basis. So Race Thompson will get our game ball. And now it's time for the Hoosier Hustle Award, sponsored by our friends at Evansville Security Services. Based in the hometown of IU legend Calbert Chaney, Evansville Security Services provides off-duty police officers to businesses and individuals throughout Indiana. Remember, prevention cannot be measured, so let Evansville Security Services help you prevent a bad outcome today. Go to evansvillesecurityservices.com to learn more. That's evansvillesecurityservices.com. Your thoughts for the Hoosier Hustle Award?
You could
Ryan?
give it to either of two people. I think I'm going to give it to Miller Kopp because of his impact on the game. But if somebody wants to give it to Tamar Bates, and if the chat mob decides Tamar's the guy, I would not argue with that. I think that Miller Kopp needs to be recognized for 7 second-half points. He was 2 of 6 from the field, but he was forcing the action with those shots when the offense was stagnant and they were down by 10 at that point or something. 1 of 3 from 3, 2 from the field, 3 rebounds and assists, 1 turnover in 13 minutes in the second half. That's all. That's just his second half line. But I thought he forced the action and got things moving and got the team starting, and it started to spark. And they started playing well when he did that. And so I give it to Miller Kopp. And then as I've said, inexplicably sat the rest of the game. And I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense. When a guy is playing well and he's hot, get him back out there. Let him play. And Mike Woodson decided for whatever reason that he wanted Parker Stewart out there instead. So fine. That's his decision. He'll have to live with it. But at the same time, I really think that Miller Kopp sparked the team back to that victory. Again, Tamar Bates also outstanding. I think it's between those two guys.
I'm going to give it to Tamar and let the chat mob decide it, because just looking at Tamar's, he hit some big shots, but he had 5 rebounds, which guard rebounding is very important in order to finish possessions. And if he can get better defensively and add a rebounding presence, then he's going to get some more run on this team. And I think the more run he gets, the better Indiana will be offensively down the line. He also had a steal in the game in 25 minutes and was a plus minus of 8. He was one of those 2 players on the court that ended up with plus minus, even though I'm not a big plus minus guy. But I think either one of those is deserving. Chat mob, go ahead and put your vote in. I'll try to keep tabs here. My math isn't extremely good, but it's either Miller Kopp or Tamar Bates for our Hoosier Hustle Award.
Looks pretty even right now based on that.
Maybe it looks 3-3 maybe.
Maybe 4-3
to Kopp.
You know what? Birthday
Let's
boy
just
tomorrow.
do it.
I think they both get one.
They both get one.
There it is.
So there you go. Good arguments for both. So it's now time for one lingering question. If you have a question in the chat mob, send it in, and Ryan and I will try to answer it. Ryan, I'm just going to give you a question. I think it's how do you get them out of this slump, this shooting slump and this offensive slump, and how do you get this team's morale back up to face Maryland on Thursday if you were the coach?
I would let them have a little bit of fun because this game they played very hard, and it's got to be demoralizing. Maybe give them a day off, take them to a movie or something. I mean, just get them out of their headspace. I think you have to just lighten something up, because whatever you're doing isn't working, and maybe it's, hey, we're going to all go see, we're going to rent out the movie theater and go see a movie. We're going to, go out and have a special dinner as a team. We're going to do something. Get them away from the basketball court for a night, because this has got to be crushing them that they are playing hard and not getting rewarded. And tonight they played hard and were not rewarded. And you could say, there were players made some boneheaded plays. Race, I know, is going to blame himself for that turnover. He's just that kind of guy, whatever. It's on the coaching staff too for not making the right choices and not making the right plays. So it's on everybody right now. Everybody needs a break and to approach this differently moving forward. And I think that's what they need to do is step away, take a night off, and go do something as a team that's not basketball, because you need that at some point. Coach, I have a lingering question for you.
Yeah, it looks like the happiness is gone right now. And when you lose, there is no happiness, right?
They're not having any fun.
Yeah. All right, what's your question?
Are they out of the tournament right now in your estimation?
Yeah, there's a question in here if they go 3-1. Yes, we didn't have them in going into tonight. We thought tonight from Delphi Bracketology was a must-win. If they can win the next 3, they have some life, but they just don't have enough quad 1 wins, and they only have 1 opportunity left at Purdue. Unless they can make a run in the tournament, then I think this one might have sealed the fate, but it's not. They'll be first 4 out. Those wins don't go away, and the St. John's win got a little better this weekend. They're now a quad 2 win, so they're close. It's going to come down to, do you put a team like Indiana at, say, 19-12 or 19-13 in, or do you put a team like SMU in that's 24-8, and just didn't play the schedule or have the wins that IU, and that's a little dangerous when you give that to the committee, because the committee in the past, when you're bottom side in quad 1 and 2, like Indiana is, and you have a 300 non-conference strength of schedule, those teams generally traditionally get left out of the 11 seed or the play-in game. So yeah. I just think it's a desperate time right now, but it starts with the win against Maryland, and that's all the team can do is just refocus and try to get win after win after win after win, and control your own destiny.
Let's say they win 2 out of the next 3 and then beat Purdue, they in?
I think if they beat Purdue, they have a good shot at getting in. That's what I'm saying. It's not over. They're not out. They're just out of the bracket if it ended today. If we took a snapshot at the end of Monday night, they're not in. Yeah. But you win 4 in a row and beat Purdue twice in a year, then that's going to, they're close enough. So
here's my question for you, Coach. If the NIT comes calling, you accept the invite, right?
I think you have to.
Yeah, thank you. I agree.
I think you have to for all the guys who there and continue playing, and the amount of practice you get, and you got to kind of suck it up a little bit. The guys who are
coming back next year.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be. But then it's competition, right? And you don't want to set the tone like you get beat and you're going to put your tail between your legs and go hide because it didn't turn out the way you did. Now you go compete and win that thing. That's a little bit of juice going into the off season. So I think yes, you have to take the NIT if they call. Is there anything else that you saw in there? I know there's a couple questions about the tourney. I think we just offered that. There's still a lot to play for, and this is a process. Coach Woodson's in his first year. These players in the first year, you get some wins down at the end of the season and end the season on a good note that way. There's still some stuff to play for. I thought I saw one back there. Will we break 70 again? Yeah, we'll break 70.
If IU had Jimmy Chitwood, yes, somebody put that in there. They would be winning more games.
The misery ends once we get at least one win. And I think there's some games coming up that Indiana will be favored for and would be surprising to lose. Although Rutgers is going to be really kind of tough.
Let me say something, Coach, while we're doing the lingering questions, because I've gotten a lot of questions this week. Because a lot of people say I'm being very harsh on this year's team, and quite frankly, I said at the beginning of the year I thought they had to make the tournament, and I think that I've been very critical of Mike Woodson's in-game coaching. Next year is going to be a new team. It's going to be a different team. There's going to be a lot of guys returning, but it's going to be a new team, and there's going to be new players, and you've got a 5-star guard coming in who, I think that people need to not put too many expectations on Jalen Hood-Schifino. He's not a first-round draft pick, a lottery pick next year. I don't think he's a guy who's going to come in and probably be here for a couple, maybe 2 years. minimum, and be a guy he's not a guy who's going to come in and just create for everybody right off the dribble and be senior year Yogi and hit threes and all that. He's not that guy. He's a very steady guard who does everything pretty well. He doesn't have a lot of things he does great, but he does everything pretty well. He'll be a great benefit to this team. But I think people need to pump the brakes on he's going to come in and solve all of Indiana's problems. But you've also got, Caleb Banks has had a great season. CJ Gunn's having a great season. Those guys will come in to be role players, as freshmen typically are. And you'll probably get something. You'll probably have some transfers in and out, as is the deal in college basketball these days. So it'll be a different team. What I will say is my frustration with this team is I think that it has enough talent to comfortably be in the tournament. I've said that, and people have said it if someone said it in the chat a couple weeks ago, it's just like, this team is less than the sum of its parts. I wholeheartedly agree. And I don't know if that's a lack of chemistry on the court, with these guys and maybe behind the scenes. I don't know if it's the coaching staff. I don't know if it's the coaching staff just not knowing how to use this type of player with some of these guys because they're not used to having these specific types of players. And I don't know if it's just, just the makeup of the team doesn't fit well. The puzzle pieces don't all line up. I just think by this point in the season, you should be better, both coaches and players, at working together. And that's clearly not happening. They're getting worse at working together, it feels like. That's the frustration from me. Does that mean that Mike Woodson and some of the other players on this team can't move forward next year and be successful and can't build on this and become a much better team? Can't take this frustration and get better from it? Absolutely not. I just think that this year, this team is good enough to be better than it is and has had games where they were in a position to win late. Pretty much all of their losses, they have been in a position to win late and have failed to close successfully. And that's disappointing because that's not overtime learning to win. That's what you want to do. Even if you don't make the tournament, as the season goes, you want to learn how to win, learn how to close out games. Because when that pays off, not necessarily later this year, it pays off next year. When the guys who were on the bench watch those guys figure it out and win and say, oh, remember when we had a chance to take over against Ohio State and win the game late? You remember what Trace did? You know what Race did? You know what these guys, watch the way Xavier attacked, like whatever. I need to do that too. I need to step up and win games and be the guy that moves us forward. That's what it's for. And that's what this build is for. Making the tournament this year, it's very important. In my opinion, I think it's more important than a lot of other people think it is for this program, for the future of this program. If that doesn't happen, you need to at least have some positives to build on, especially down the stretch. You need something because guess what everybody remembers? They don't remember when you were 16-5 to start the season and beating Purdue. They might remember that Purdue game because the Rob Finney angle, but it's going to fade over time. What everyone's going to remember is how you finish the season, because that's the most recent memory. I remember the COVID season going into the offseason. We were all excited because Indiana blew out Nebraska in the Big Ten tournament. They were like, that's the best they looked all year. Never mind the fact, we forgot the fact that Nebraska had like 4 football players they yanked off the team to fill out their roster at the end of the season, and their coach got sick in the middle of the game and left. We forgot that, but we remembered they crushed Nebraska, and we felt, hey, look at that performance. We're going to build on that heading into next year. People remember, players remember, coaches remember how you finish the season. If you finish depressed, that offseason is going to be a struggle. Oh, you know who else remembers it? Postgame show hosts. And that offseason is going to be depressing. You need to build on something down this stretch. Even if you don't make the tournament, you need positives you can build on as a program to point to say, hey, this is going well. This is going well. This is where we're headed. So that's why this is important. That's why I expect more out of Mike Woodson. That's why I expect more out of some of these players. You need something to build on for next year. That's why I have been the way I have been lately about this team, because you need to find some positives to build on, because this program has not had that in 6 long years. It's time for some positives. Let's find positives over the next couple games.
And as we head to last call, Ryan, I'm just calling that was a real great last call. So we're going to go make that your last call. Well said. And all I will say is it's frustrating. It is, and we have the right to be upset with the performance tonight. I'll just keep showing up. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be rooting for Indiana come Thursday.
Well, you're under
night.
contract, Coach. You can't.
Can't leave. I did sign a lifetime contract with Assembly Call, so I might need to see what my buyout is. No, I'm not going anywhere. It's good. This community's good. We can commiserate together, stay positive, keep doing good things out in the community, and we'll get some wins here. And who knows? You put a losing streak together, maybe you can turn it around and win some and find a way into the tournament. So that's going to do it for our live show. If you want to be a part of it, join the live chat. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/assemblycall.com. And don't forget to go to join.assemblycall.com to join our free email newsletter. Special thanks to Bob Thompson for the music you hear on the show. Special thanks to John Ringer of RiggsDesign.com for designing our logo. And thank you for listening. We'll be back to talk IU hoops again with you on Thursday night. Until then,
take it from me, James Blackman Jr. Keep your elbows in, eyes on the rim, and get buckets. Go Hoosiers.
Thank you. Thanks for coming out.
All right, I got to get out of here, folks. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone for joining us. Appreciate it. Always tough when you have to do 5 of these in a row.
It's real tough.
There were some good things, a little more motion, movement in the offense. Some bench players stepped up and got some things done. Unfortunately, it just was not enough. There was not enough offense at all, especially down the stretch. And then the defense went away in overtime. And
look, there was a stretch in the middle of that second half where they played as good a defense as they played all year.
Absolutely.
It really was. The hustle
and offensively, they did enough to get back in. So
yeah. No, I think that's the thing. I think that's the real frustrating thing about this team.
Right.
Is
there's enough good.
There's stretches where you're like, that's what they are. That's what they can be like. There were I think 15 minutes in that Purdue game where you're like, this is a team that could go to the Sweet 16. Like this is a team that could that could make a run to the Sweet. They just need to play like that. And then there's stretches on either end of that for 5 minutes where it's like, this team's going to miss the tournament. Like it's just the Jekyll and Hyde and the lack of consistency that is the most frustrating thing. And
it just drives you crazy. Yeah, Syracuse, first half, second half. Wisconsin, first half, second half. Penn State, late.
First half of Wisconsin, they look like a Final Four team. I mean, they look like a team that could legit go to the Final Four, especially given how good we found out Wisconsin is. And then also Syracuse, second half. That offense, you were like, this is why they brought in Mike Woodson. Absolutely. Like this is it right here.
I've said that several times. I've written down stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's got this going, this going, this going. This is why they brought in Woodson. And all of a sudden, that inconsistency from both the coaching staff and the players is what drives you nuts, because you do think they're good enough. And we're all biased. We look through crimson-colored glasses,
of course,
a little bit. But I think this team's better than 16-10. And it's just faltered at key moments and not responded in key moments, or it's had a good run. Like beating Purdue and then coming out and laying an egg against Michigan, right? So
yeah, it's almost like they relax when things go well. Things go well and they get excited about it and just like relax. Like here's the thing, Coach. They were 16-5. And we've talked about this up at halftime against a really, really good Illinois team. And you're thinking, we're sitting there in the stands. I'm up in the press area. People are talking like, hey, this team could win the Big Ten if things break right. Like that's how they're playing.
They're not that far away.
They're annoying Kofi Coburn. They're closing out the shooters. And on the other end, they're getting buckets without Trace Jackson Davis. Like, all this stuff. And then they came out from that halftime at Illinois. And until they made that run tonight, this was not the same team. From that halftime until they made the run tonight, not the same basketball team. I don't know what happened. I don't know what's, and then after Illinois, you get the suspensions at Northwestern. I mean, so some things build there. Though from halftime of that game on, something was different about this team. I don't know what it was. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes, or maybe it was just everybody kind of got tired at the same time.
Hit that wall at the same time.
Yeah, it was something. But this team has not been the same since then. Started to see some spark tonight. But, you also worry. You showed a lot of spark. You had the lead late. You blew it. And then you got smacked in overtime. How do you show up in your next game? Like that can be a 2-game hangover, and you can't afford that right now. You've already lost 5 in a row.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be tough. Any thoughts on the Michigan-Wisconsin game for our listeners?
Look,
the debacle at the end.
Absolutely no excuse for what Juwan Howard did. I thought he should have been suspended for the rest of the season, not the rest of the regular season, the rest of the season. You make Phil Martelli the coach for the rest of the year and just say, hey, we're going to sit Howard down. We're going to donate his salary to charity. I thought Michigan making the suspension as opposed to the Big Ten was correct, but I think they should have suspended him for the rest of the year, no question. You've got Phil Martelli sitting on the bench. He knows how to coach. He knows this inside and out. It's basically his offensive system. Let him coach. I think Greg Gard should have been suspended for a game for grabbing Howard the way he did. A $10,000 fine, not enough for me. I'm sorry. You do not put your hands on another coach. If he wants to blow by you and say, I'm going to remember that, I'm not going to forget that or whatever, and just keep walking, let him go. Who gives a crap?
The stuff and things.
Yeah.
Who gives the stuff and things?
But I'm sorry, that putting your hands on a guy, grabbing him and trying to get in his face and talk to him, Greg Gard deserves a suspension as well. 100%, no question in my mind. But yeah,
sorry, stuff and things. I wasn't commenting on your name or anything.
Yeah,
I'm agreeing with you tonight, and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah,
I disagree a little bit with Greg Gard because I don't think his grabbing him was intentional. I think he just grabbed his elbow to say hey, but I might be wrong on that. If he did grab him and pull him, because when you shake hands, you usually put your hand behind someone. I just thought that's what Gard was doing, and then Gard didn't take any crap, and I don't mind the fine for Gard, but
I think he should have been suspended one game. I think that would have been a fair thing because clearly they were going at each other there. It wasn't
right.
It wasn't just Howard yelling at nobody. They got into it. They got into each other's faces. I thought it was unbecoming. You do that in a game across from each other or something, that's one thing. In the handshake line, getting right up in each other's face is different. I think there's just the visual is different. It's also, by the way, nationally broadcast game on a Sunday. People are getting out of church and watching that. You need to be harsh in the punishment if you're college basketball. I also think that Brad Davison should be suspended for what he did to Hunter Dickinson during that game.
He had something else in there too, I think, during the game.
He
got called.
Here's the thing. Read my article at the Big Lead about Brad Davison today. Hate to promote, but I don't. He needs to absolutely be suspended for some of these antics. The reason he keeps doing it is because they are not holding him accountable. And this is, years of this stuff by Brad Davison. We're not, this isn't new stuff. He's been doing it for years, and absolutely think that he should be suspended, and he should be warned. If you do anything else, you're gone. I'm sorry. You've done too much over the years. You've injured people. You've punched guys in the groin. You've put your foot under guys as they're shooting intentionally so that they land on your foot and hurt themselves. You're going to hurt somebody. One more incident, you're gone. And so I absolutely think that, and that's not one of those things where like he's annoying because he's on the team that beats you. No. That guy deserves to be punched in the face. If he does something like that again, somebody on the opposing team hauls off and decks them, I won't cheer somebody punching him.
But it's deserved, huh?
Deserved, 100%. 100% deserved.
Yeah, I think that there's just no place for that in college basketball because that escalated everything. And now you got players who are going to be suspended who started throwing punches. And I just think that's unfortunate for college basketball that we have to be talking about it. But I thought we'd give our takes on that while we're
worth
here.
Talking about.
Join us, everyone, on Thursday night. Let's get a positive show after a win. I think we all need it. We do appreciate you being here, and let us know if you ever need anything. Join our community. We have really good stuff going on over there. So until Thursday, take care. Be safe. Peace.